In the stillness before dawn on November 4th, 2025, the skies over Khartoum carried a deceptive calm. The city below slept under a blanket of darkness, while high above, an enormous Russian IL-76 MD transport aircraft glided toward the capital. It was a flying giant, weighing more than 220,000 pounds, its four blazing D-30KP, two engines lighting the night like molten suns. To the crew inside, the flight felt routine, even predictable. They had flown through dangerous regions before, and the plan was simple: descend, land at Wadi Sadna Air Base, unload personnel and cargo, then vanish into the desert sky before sunrise. Nothing in their training prepared them for what came next. At precisely 3:10 a.m., alarms exploded through the cockpit without warning. Radar indicators turned blood red, heat sensors screamed, and urgent electronic warnings lit up every panel. Something fast, too fast, was approaching from their rear. Within seconds, the crew understood the horrifying truth. Two projectiles, closing at Mach 3, were locked onto them. The pilot grabbed the controls with a surge of panic and yanked the aircraft downward, but the IL-76 was never built to dodge missiles. Its mass worked against it. Gravity answered slowly, and fate was already locked in. The detection that sealed its fate. Long before the pilot sensed danger, the aircraft had already been exposed. 15 minutes earlier, in a dusty, abandoned cement plant west of Khartoum, a Rapid Support Forces electronic intelligence post had been scanning the night skies. Their equipment wasn't modern by global standards, but it was precise enough to catch a critical detail: a UHF band emission belonging to a PS-90 navigation radar. That frequency signature identified the aircraft instantly. It was a Russian IL-76 MD, and no amount of secrecy could hide that truth. The Rapid Support Forces operators quickly realized something even more important. The aircraft wasn't flying a normal route. It had entered Sudan through Eritrea, bypassing all international air traffic coordination. That route alone was a bright red flag. Intelligence teams scrambled to decode its purpose, and the conclusion grew more alarming with every passing minute. Rapid Support Forces analysts believed the cargo on board included Russian military specialists, Sudanese officers from SAF's drone and EW units, as well as mobile UAV control stations, communication terminals, and high-value electronics. This wasn't a humanitarian flight. This was a covert resupply mission designed to shift the war's momentum in favor of the Sudanese armed forces by establishing a Russian-supported drone warfare hub. If the IL-76 reached Wadi Sadna safely, the war could tilt dramatically against the Rapid Support Forces, and with every mile the plane traveled, the threat grew. The command bunker's high-stakes decision. At 3:18 a.m., inside an underground Rapid Support Forces command bunker near El Jebalin, tension pushed the air into a suffocating stillness. The room glowed in a harsh red light as commanders studied the real-time data feed of the unknown aircraft. Their expressions tightened with every update. The IL-76, confirmed under the call sign RA-86863, was less than 50 miles from the capital and closing in on SAF territory with alarming speed. The situation left no space for indecision. A meeting that would normally take hours unfolded in less than 3 minutes. The commanders weighed the risks. They understood that firing on a Russian aircraft could ripple far beyond Sudan, but they also understood something far more pressing. If they did not act, the southern front could collapse. Their fighters would be cut off, SAF's forces would gain fresh reinforcements, and Russian-backed UAVs could dominate the skies within days. The bunker fell silent for a moment before the order was spoken. Activate the FK-2000 air defense system. Confirm the target. If it was the Russian IL-76, they were to bring it down without hesitation. The command sealed the aircraft's fate, unleashing the FK-2000 defense system. In the dark desert outside Khartoum, the FK-2000 air defense battery powered up like a metallic beast awakening from sleep. Its AESA radar swept the sky with unmatched efficiency, painting a digital picture of the night. The IL-76 appeared as a massive, unmistakable echo, an enormous radar cross-section too large to hide. The FK-2000 was designed for moments exactly like this. Engineers built it to neutralize low-altitude threats quickly, merging rapid-fire cannons with short-range, radar-guided HQ-17AE missiles. When the encrypted order reached the battery, the crew snapped into a rehearsed rhythm. The fire control interface switched from passive surveillance to full attack mode. A stable lock formed on the IL-76 as it descended through just over 6,000 feet. The operator's voice cut through the cabin with one command: weapons free. A flash tore across the desert as the first missile launched skyward. Less than 2 seconds later, the second missile followed, slicing through the air with a violent roar. At the same time, the cannons began firing streams of metal into the aircraft's future flight path, creating a storm of destruction the transport aircraft could never outrun. The devastating mid-air strike. The IL-76 had no chance. The first missile slammed into engine number 3, the impact tearing a massive chunk from the right wing. The aircraft jolted violently, shaking like a wounded beast trying to regain control. Before the pilots could regain orientation, the second missile exploded beneath the fuselage, scattering molten tungsten fragments through the belly of the aircraft. Flames erupted inside the cargo compartment as lithium batteries, drone components, and electronics ignited at once. The interior temperature spiked beyond 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, overwhelming the insulation and melting through wiring channels. The cockpit was plunged into darkness. Flight controls became unresponsive. Communications died. The aircraft began to fall, not in a glide, but in a spiraling descent fueled by chaos, fire, and structural failure. The final descent. At 3:24 a.m., the aircraft rolled uncontrollably to the left as the fire spread into its remaining fuel tanks. Structural vibrations tore through the frame, twisting metal under intense stress. Rapid support forces, reconnaissance teams watched the fall through infrared optics, seeing the aircraft as a massive red-orange plume twisting violently in the night sky. Moments later, the IL-76 struck the desert south of Al-Salam at a steep angle, crushing itself into the earth at roughly 330 miles per hour. The impact unleashed a thunderous explosion that sent a smoke column nearly 1,000 feet into the sky. Across Khartoum, families awoke from the tremor. On the FK-2000 radar screen, the target suddenly disappeared, replaced by a cold, emotionless message: target neutralized. The race to secure the wreckage. Within minutes of the impact, rapid support forces' rapid reaction teams sped toward the crash site. Their mission was simple: secure the wreckage and uncover the truth before SAF troops could attempt recovery. When they arrived, the scene was apocalyptic. A 660-foot-long trench had been carved into the ground. Burning cargo crates, melted wings, and torn engine pieces littered the desert. Not a single part of the aircraft remained whole. The bodies of all 21 people on board, 14 Russians and 7 Sudanese officers, were found among the wreckage, none surviving the inferno. The Rapid Support Forces teams recovered scorched drone control modules, satellite communication terminals, encrypted telecommunication cases, and pieces of mobile drone command stations. Every discovery confirmed their suspicions. The IL-76 had been on a mission that could have reshaped the war, a blow that echoed across borders. The aircraft's tail number, RF78781, confirmed its identity as a newly delivered IL-76MD-90A, one of the last built before production halted. It had flown barely 130 hours since entering service. Its destruction left a crippling gap in SAF logistics. With only 2 remaining IL-76 aircraft, both now terrified to take off, entire battalions in Kosti and Lobed were stranded without resupply internationally. The incident triggered political shockwaves. A Chinese air defense system had just brought down a Russian aircraft on African soil, creating a ripple of embarrassment between 2 supposed allies. Western media seized the story instantly, amplifying the symbolism and geopolitical implications. a new reality in the war. For years, the Rapid Support Forces had been mocked as little more than an urban militia. That night destroyed that stereotype. They had downed one of the world's largest military transport aircraft entirely on their own, with no foreign operators or external guidance. Their message was unmistakable. Sudan's skies were no longer under anyone's foreign control, and any attempt to dominate them would be met with the same deadly precision. A message heard around the world. As dawn illuminated the desert, Rapid Support Forces commanders delivered a message that soaked into every corner of the conflict. They declared they would not allow any nation, whether Sudanese, Russian, or foreign, to use Sudan's airspace as a platform for dominance. The smoking crater left by the IL-76 was their proof. That single strike did more than halt a resupply mission. It changed the rhythm of the war, signaled a shift in regional power, and reminded the world that even mighty giants can fall when the night is dark, the radar is sharp, and the missile finds its mark. And that brings us to the end of one of the most shocking moments in Sudan's modern war. An operation that didn't just bring down a Russian aircraft, but reshaped the battlefield and redrew the balance of power in a single night. If you want more deep dive breakdowns like this, make sure you hit that like and subscribe to the channel.